Getting more wood chips has been a little bit difficult because the tree service companies, they're more than happy to deliver them if it's convenient for them. And it just so happens that here, this site is on the way home of a tree service company. So if he's got chips, doesn't have another place that wants them, if the homeowners don't want them, then they drop them off here. To lay the garden down, the first thing is to go through and dig out all the thistles, and we found even dandelions and goldenrod and things like grapevine can be a problem. So if you have those things, to dig them out is very helpful. And then find a source for some newspaper.
And we found a source for free newspaper at the local rescue mission. Gave us all the newspaper that we needed, an abundance of newspaper, and we laid it out. And we're blessed in that it's wetland down there, and everything just laid down, and that was to kill all the weeds and the grass that was growing underneath.
And the newspaper, we put it down about 2 to 4 layers thick, and it seems like it really needs to be 3 or 4 layers thick. And where there wasn't newspaper, there were weeds. There were weeds coming. And once the light film was on of wood chips, then we could put the covering on, 4 to 6 inches deep. The first year is really best. Beyond that, it's going to make it difficult for your plants to grow.
With your heart,
we were planting the garden, and while things were germinating and coming up, it was so exciting to see these plants come up, because it's like we are going to have a garden full. We're going to have a produce department full of harvest.
Else, yes.
Yeah, we're going to give vegetables all over the community. And as time went on, it was a little bit discouraging because things came up and then they stopped growing. And I didn't know why. So that's when I put the fertilizer on. And they grew a little bit more, but then they stopped growing and actually went to seed. And the reason for that was because we were growing in the wood chips instead of in the soil underneath. And we can tell in the places in our garden where the plants, the roots actually got into the soil versus stayed in the wood chips. Because where they got into the soil, the plants did remarkably better. It didn't take very long before we realized we needed to do some fertilizing. One of the organic materials that's the best for nitrogen and for fertilization with wood chips is dried blood. And so we put a couple of 17-pound bags on at different times. And that did remarkable things for the plants. The dried blood worked better than anything for organic nitrogen fertilizer. As far as this garden, I think what we would have done differently would have been just to put about 4 inches, 4 to 6 inches of wood chips down, and then part the chips and plant in the ground beneath the wood chips. And that soil really does get prepared pretty quickly by the wood chips. It softens the ground up pretty quickly. When I moved the wood chips off in one area, I just took my finger and I began to dig. And in no time, I was down 2 inches really easily. And then in the yard, just off the wood chips, I started to try to dig, and I was, really stressing my finger to even break the grass, let alone break the soil. So it really does make a big difference.